My name is Paul Emerson. I'm a biomedical engineer from Minneapolis, Minnesota. The thing about biomedical engineers is they have lots of specializations. So I did my PhD in mechanical engineering in 1988. I spent about 10 years in the physiology department in the process of doing that. I then worked for Baxter Healthcare, which is a large dialysis company, for 8 years doing dialysis research. I've spent about 3 years developing ventilators and another 15 years doing firmware in pacemakers, defibrillators, and CRT devices. So it tends to be a mix of things. So I can say I'm at one point, I'm a mechanical engineering specialist. I'm also a physiologist, and I am also a software engineer. So we tend to do a mixture of different things. On the yoga side, I should also say I've been a yoga instructor since about 1975. I had started doing Hatha Yoga back in 1969. So it's been a lifelong interest on the yoga side for me as well.
Do the techniques and the practice of Himalayan yoga correspond best with your scientific findings?
I would say very much yes. You know, the question is whether there are specific findings that I have or just specific findings that other people have made in terms of research. When you say Himalayan yoga, that is a brand. So I think you really have to talk about yoga in general. And, you know, the findings of yoga in general have corresponded to what I have observed.
What kind of breath would we describe as improper breath, and what are its consequences?
It all depends. Engineers like to measure things, and so it all depends on what the purpose of the particular breath is. If you're talking about meditation, there is a particular format of breathing. So there is a slow breath, there is a long exhalation, there is a smooth breath, there is a breath which has a predominant abdominal pattern to it, and there is equinostrial flow. Those are all characteristics of a meditative breath. If you have a breath, if you are doing a physical activity, if you are running a marathon, if you are doing 12 Surya Namaskaras in a period of 3 minutes, you'll have a different type of breath. If you are a COPD patient, you'll have a different type of breath. So in a sense, there are no improper breaths, but there are less useful breaths. The thing that you really have to talk about is breathing in terms of our everyday life and existence. So improper breathing would tend to be rapid breathing. It would tend to be shallow breathing. It would tend to be breathing for the majority of time through your mouth and not through your nose. Those would all be characteristics of an improper breath. And the question is, why is that improper? Well, it's improper because it will tend to exacerbate some physical problems that you might have. So if you want to be much more jittery and not relaxed, then you will breathe faster. Heart failure patients will tend to have a very fast breath. So on the pacemakers and defibrillators that I developed, we have a breath sensor, and one of the things we look for is a rapid shallow breathing index. And the rapid shallow breathing index will be augmented in terms of heart failure. And there's some suggestion that it may be predictive of a decompensation episode in heart failure as well.
Is there any universal recipe for proper breathing?
It depends a little bit on, again, it depends on what your particular health status is. So generally, if you want to live a long time, you will breathe more slowly. You will breathe in a more relaxed fashion. And the simple example of that is that if you have ever talked for a long period of time, which is an example of rapid breathing, you will feel very tired. So you will notice that it just tends not to conserve your biophysical energy in those circumstances.